Alright, today we're doing some problem solving, and I'm saying with or without algebra. We do want you to be able to translate a problem into maths language and to use the tools we have in algebra to solve them. But it's also true that a lot of these problems you probably can do without algebra. And I don't want to force you to have to use this method. I want this to be a tool that is useful for you, and so something that makes things easier for you rather than more confusing. Okay, so the first example we'll do is one where you might be able to do it without algebra, and that's okay. All right. The second example is probably one that's easier with the tools we have in algebra. Okay, so let's begin. Jeweler earns a weekly amount of $200 plus $10 per item she sells. If in 1 week she earned $680, how many items did she sell? The way to do this, if we hadn't learned anything about equations and stuff like that, I guess would be to know that every week you earn 200 regardless, and so if you earned 680 in total, that must mean that you earned 480 from the things you sold, and so on and so on. That's okay. I'll still give you the idea in how to make a formula with this sort of easier example so that we can use these ideas for harder examples, right? So the hardest part to deal with here is the $10 per item she sells. That means if she sells one item, it's $10. If she sells 2 items, each of them gets her $10, and so it's 20 in total. That's 2 times 10. 3 items would be 30, and so on. 7 items would be 70. Now, the reason why we would think through these, even though I'm pretty sure these are all obvious, is you're trying to look for some sort of pattern. You don't know how many items she's selling, but you know that however many she's selling, the pattern is that the amount she earns comes from multiplying by 10. And so if she sells X items, we don't know how many, then the amount she earns from doing that will just be 10x. Okay. Now, we are told that she earns $680 in total, so let's put that there for now. Right. This 680 comes from 2 sources. There's 2 things adding together. One is the 200 that she always gets. The other is from selling stuff, which we just worked out totals to 10x, where x is the number of things she manages to sell. And so this equation should be something quite familiar now. You just got to subtract the 200. That kills the 200 there. 680 minus 200 is 480. So 10x is 480. And 10 times 48 is 480. So she sold 48 things. Right, so it'd be the same thing if you just thought about it and thought, well, it must be 480 from selling stuff, and then divide by 10. But this is a way to turn the story into some sort of formula equation using algebra. And the main point to take away from this is if you don't know something, give yourself a few examples and see if you can spot some sort of pattern and give a name to the things that you don't know. All right, and see if that helps. It won't be easier all the time, but sometimes it could be. Okay. All right, this is an example where maybe it's actually more helpful to use the algebra. Okay, so the length of a rectangle is 10 centimeters. We know its perimeter and its area, and we want to know what the width is. So we should draw ourselves a rectangle, and it's saying something about its perimeter, which means we want to think about adding up all the side lengths together. We know the length is given as 10, so we can put the 10 there. And that must mean that the top edge is also 10. And so in total, that gives you 2 10s, so 2 times 10. But we don't know the width. We're trying to find the width. And if you don't know something, you should give it some name, and we can call this width, the pink one, the x then, right? And the other side must also be x. And so how much does that contribute to the perimeter? Well, that adds on an extra 2x then, so u plus 2x. Now 2 10s are 20, and you have 2x, so this is how much you have all up, and that is the perimeter. Now for the area. Well, the area is just the length multiplied by the width, and so that's easy, it's just 10x. All right, and so if the area is 10 times x, which is 10x, and we're told the perimeter is equal to area, we just make the red box equal to the orange box. So 20 plus 2x equals 10x. Now last time we just did these equations with the x on both sides. We can deal with this by removing the smaller one. So I'll take out the 2x from both sides. On the left, that kills the 2x. On the right, 10x minus 2x gives you 8 remaining. So 8x equals 20. And it doesn't go very nicely, so you can kill times 8 by dividing by 8. And so we do that, and we get 20 divided by 8, which is 2.5 centimeters for the width. Okay, so again, the big takeaway is if you have to work with something you don't know or you're trying to find, chances are one way to start is to give it a name, like the x or the n or whatever, use algebra to give it some sort of label, and then try and translate the story into an equation and see if that takes you anywhere. Okay, that's all. Thanks for watching. See you next time.